All right, it is Sunday, and every Sunday now,
Trying.
For the last 4 weeks, we go to Starbucks, we do our opening video. I like it. It's good. It allows Amy to show off her yellow nails, and...
What is wrong with my nails?
Tell the truth. Tell everybody what happened.
This is not what I asked for.
She went to the nail place.
I get my
and
nails
asked
done
the lady for...
only in Ontario.
Yeah. Because it's special flavor.
No, it's just not the same.
I know, they can't make those yellow nails.
No,
in the US.
the material, they don't have the same material.
Okay.
Or
Well,
whatever.
can you not search that material at a certain nail place?
No,
I find it really hard to believe.
They do not have it here in the States.
Okay. Well, that's fine. They don't have the strawberry syrup here in the States, too.
See?
And they don't have the mini maple pancakes that they have in Ontario.
Anyway, this is not what I asked for. And
it was funny
he's
because
making fun of me.
It was funny because the first person that noticed it, aside from me, was Harry Potter.
I know, that was really funny. He grabbed my hand right out of my pocket.
Yeah. He said, what do you got going on there?
It's Easter.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm going with.
Easter yellow. All right. So every Sunday, it's becoming a trend. I like it. You get to see Amy's pretty face. And we get to talk about the horses in the week that was. Because we did have a great week. And there's lots to be enthusiastic about. I did sleep in a little bit today, although the dog jumped on me. I wasn't very happy about that. And you can hear his nails click-clacking on the wood floor. You got to get some socks on that dog, at least on a Saturday
Only
night.
on Saturday nights?
Well, it's just ridiculous. Like, you can hear him coming a mile away. He's the opposite of a ninja. It is really painful. And it could catch you off guard, because like every horror movie, just click, 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 click.
It's worse in Ontario, because our whole house is hard.
Yeah, no, it's pretty annoying. Anyway, we have had a great week. I was thoroughly pleased with the babies, and then again when I went with them, the ones that I wanted to go like a little one-on-one training with the other day, I was really happy with the way they did it. I could really see where there was where the mistakes were being made, and quite frankly, why the mistakes were being made. In reference to like Degas, I think there's some changes we can make. And I was really pleased with the maturity and the growth of Neuromancer, right? You were laughing. You thought he would trot without the hobbles on the other day, and then he went out 1 mile in 2:19, which was faster than I wanted to go, but I didn't really care what we went. I knew we weren't going any crazy speed. We were going plenty, but I wanted to see how he'd do when I caught up to somebody's back. And then again, when I moved him, he accelerated, would he hit himself, would he get out of gear, he was perfect. And still a lot of work to do in regards to polishing up his gait, but the fact that he's pushing forward, he's understanding his work, and he's trying to get it done, that's a huge, huge step. Of course, like in New York, not one of our best horses, but doing his work surprisingly well without the hobbles on, and went as faster than 95% of the horses we have right now in his training the other day. So it was very important that I do that, and I will do that from time to time over the next few weeks when we really go to drop the hammer on a number of these horses. I will be the one to go with them. There'll be a week where I'll go with 20 or 25 babies, because I want to see for myself, is there anything, one, we're on the right track. I believe we're on the right track. Two, are we, right? It's very important. If we're not, how do we get the horses back there? And these are questions that I'm going to have to answer for the horses, for you, for me, for everybody, as we get closer to May. Remember, May, you say, well, May's still a month away. You don't just wake up in June and say, okay, guys, we're going to go qualify today. They have to be ready to go. And some of the horses will be like Arrowhead was last year. Remember? If you guys remember, I told you guys all through the month of May that no one would work harder than Arrowhead Hanover, and he ended up being a great horse right through to his very last start. 2 in a row he ended the year with. Now he started the year with a break, but I hadn't seen him make any breaks all year training down, so I'm going to call it an anomaly since he had made any, and then out of the blue he made one. And oddly enough, it was exactly where he made it, in the exact same spot as a 2-year-old, the one time he made a break. So hopefully he got his one break per year out of the way.
Well, at least it wasn't for as much purse.
Correct. Yeah, that was a tough one last year. So the horses this week, we did have I'm so happy that the horses in Ontario are racing good. You know, Dominic was in a funk over the winter and now has been on fire the last, month or two in Ontario. And now Harry, again, I think Harry's got a win in 3 seconds in his last 4 starts in Ontario. His horses out of his barn are starting to race really, really well also. These guys work so hard. Everybody takes their job really, really seriously and work hard. And, we tell you, I say it all the time. You hear me say it all the time, not just in horse racing, but I say it to Ollie in baseball. You get out what you put in. That's not completely accurate. You don't always get out what you put in. Sometimes you work really hard and things just don't work out, and that's the most frustrating part of this game. And happily for us, that didn't happen last week. So we're going to run through some of the high points of last week, and I wanted to do this today also because I wanted to race Gorgeous Package last night, and I felt bad. Greg flew all the way here from Philadelphia, and he loves the road trips, and he's a super nice guy when he comes here. He just wants to watch the horses, and it's so rare. It's so easy for us to watch them at home. Not often you see people get on a plane and fly somewhere just to watch overnights, especially in the rain. But
I didn't know he came.
Yeah, he was there last night.
Bill was there too.
Yeah, Bill was there too, yeah. And I felt bad because I think both of them made the trip because I had alluded to the fact that,
she couldn't lose.
Well, if she drew inside, she'd give them all they wanted. And I think maybe I was a little too aggressive with her. My biggest concerns in the race were...
what was the recall?
So Kurt got a flat tire, literally right at the start. Now, she was smart about it. It had to take a little bit out of her, but she was smart about it. She pulled up and walked up by the fence. So in that regard, everybody had a little bit taken out of them. But the one thing that everybody wasn't was a 3-year-old filly making their 3rd lifetime start. A lot of those horses were aged horses. The 8 horse had been racing predominantly in the open her last 3, 4, 5 starts, I believe. So it wasn't like she was in with a bunch of okay horses. It was a pretty stiff bunch of mares is what it was. Now I went out of there good. Kurt ducked. I thought it was Ronnie, and I look over and it's Aaron coming, and I knew Aaron's horse was double digits and didn't look like one of the tough ones, but any one of those mares can jump up at any time. He cleared the lead, and as soon as he made front, he grabbed up like he was gonna let me remove. So maybe he didn't think his horse was as good as.
Won, didn't it?
It won, and won easily. But when Aaron cleared the front, he grabbed a hold right away, like, hey, come back around. Maybe he didn't think his horse was that good. He was just in a position to leave. So I did remove her, and I did get a rest, but, I would have liked to rest her till into the backstretch, but Keith Cash came with a horse just past the quarter, and he was smoking, and he made a break down the backstretch, but had he paced cleanly all the way into the turn, he might have cleared me halfway around the last turn. That horse had a full head of steam and just kept coming, and really, really put a dent in Gorgeous Package. And then as soon as he made a break and get out of the way, out comes Aaron and he finished the job. But although she was tired, she didn't give up. Like, that horse went by her on the inside, and Greg said, it's too bad that it was a condition claimer beat her on the inside. I said, well, in all those races, if you have the worst horse, which is still an okay horse, and you stay left and everybody mixes it up, you're going to get a chance, right? You're going to get a run up the inside, and that's exactly what Luke did. He kind of just slithered through the inside with that filly and beat me for second. But it is worth noting, she held off Corey Kreiser's horse, who's a legit mare, and held off the open mare on the outside to be third. So although, if you run it all back and you look at it through the lens of hindsight, I simply just drove her too hard. I should have just stayed in the 2-hole behind Aaron. I 2-moved her to the front, then really 3 moves because I had to fire her back up coming to the half when Keith came fast. And then I had to fight everybody off. So she fought tooth and nail the whole way and was defeated by elder mares. So certainly nothing to be upset about. And I think, if you're going to look at it and say, okay, what went wrong? Stay in the 2-hole at the quarter pole. But again, given Aaron's body language, what I thought of the filly coming off her 2 races and the rest of the horse in the race, I just felt being on the front, controlling the race, getting a breather was the right way to move. But it didn't matter. She gets stretched out. And the one thing is, this is going to be a hard-fought season, whether she's in the Buckeye or where she races. Every race is going to be tooth or nail. And getting her stretched out a little bit on her 3rd start back is not the end of the world. The one thing I know about this filly is she'll bounce back really well. We will draw her blood just to make sure everything was on the up and up last night. But it just felt like a hard-fought race that she lost. Now, you had sent me a message after Trosa's race.
Yeah.
What a mile that was. The Open went in 52 and a piece.
I didn't see that.
Trosa's race went in 50 and 2, and he came from Mars to finish
literally.
second.
When I saw the time come up, I was like, wow, that was...
He paced 51-3 in the mud, and it was muddy. 51-3 in the mud, 28 seconds on the end of it, and came from last. He raced very, very good, but has been racing good. I'm so happy for Daniel, too. You know, Trosa and Neptune ended up here because Daniel had originally called me and asked for advice. He said, you know, I got this, and it's so weird. In Australia, you can't use Lasix. When the horses bleed, the vet, if the horse shows a trickle of blood in its nose, which is a significant amount of blood. If you're coming off the track after a race and it's already up in your nose, that's a significant amount of blood. That happens twice in Australia and New Zealand, you're banned for life. And a bit strict, but you can't use Lasix.
That doesn't happen though, like...
That's why you see a lot of these Australian horses over here, because they don't want to end up in that situation. So Daniel had said, you know, this horse is training down. He's got a lot of talent, but he does show a little bit of blood sometimes under scope, and I'm worried they'll just turn them out for a year or 6 months.
They did that with him.
And that's why he's 6.
And has what?
And that's why.
And a maiden.
I said, Daniel, if you like the horse, why don't you just send the horse over here? We'll put him on Lasix. And even when he started, I was a little frustrated. I had lobbied to bring him to Ohio, race him in the, you know, condition claimers in Miami Valley and Northfield if we had to. He would have destroyed them for a while. But I don't know that he would have become that 51 pacer that is now getting better and better. Now, if I told you that he was a 4-year-old, lightly raced at 2 and 3, you'd be like, this horse could be any kind of horse. He's a 6-year-old, but he is lightly raced. So I could see this horse. Clearly, the horse has got a wicked brush on the end of it. So I could clearly see this horse becoming better and better and better and being a legit good horse down the road. So I'm happy. I'm happy for Daniel.
He covers so much ground.
Well, he's a gigantic
he's so
animal.
Big, but that's what the long stretch is good for him.
Yeah. And when it comes to Daniel and Robbie, and I know that Neptune hasn't quite panned out the same yet. He finished second on Saturday and raced good. Paced 53 in the mud.
His foot looks better.
Yeah, his foot is looking better. So, I mean, there's a corridor there. I mean, if you have, let's say you have 1,000 horses racing in weather that's similar to ours, really, except hotter, I guess, depending on where you're at. It gets really hot there in their summer and a little chilly in the winter. And you're going to have a lot of bleeders. That's why you see a lot of those Australian, New Zealand horses show up over here. You know, it may be worth putting a feeler out to Daniel and to Robbie and just saying, hey, just keep an eye out maybe in the fall. Because clearly what we failed at, I feel I failed at, is our ability to race horses are close to Christmas through February. We were not able to acquire them. Our horses we brought back weren't quite good enough.
Well, maybe we need to acquire them earlier.
Yes and no. I think there's an easier way to combat it. And there's not a lot of claimers out there, but I have a ton of clients that want to claim horses also. Maybe rather than we try to acquire horses to race in that manner, we just acquire them in a more abrupt manner, which is just claim them. Or also have some horses come in from Australia or New Zealand that might fit classes. Now we're going to have to be careful of their age, but might fit classes here a little better than looking for what is here in front of us. Going about it a different way. So I know we're going to get a lot of emails in regards to the claiming thing. Just relax. It's a long way away, but it is something. It's not lost on me that the quietest part of our year and the place that I feel the most vulnerable is December 1st, my birthday, through even March 1st. So need to do a better job assembling a strong team
I
for
feel like every
that.
year we've adjusted what we do because it never works, and
it's just not enough. It's still not enough. No, it's still not enough.
You can't predict what classes.
And that's the problem we have. That's a component of it. You're right. We can't predict which classes are going to go and what they're going to look like, but you can with the claimers. And if we bring horses to fit numbers of 2 through numbers of 5, then we might be able to. Regardless of how we go about it, we need to do a better job doing it. So, a couple little overview points there. Thoroughly pleased with Trosa. I was mildly happy with Neptune. Happy with Gorgeous Package. A little disappointed in maybe the way I drove her in hindsight. Alexandra.
You forgot she was even racing and she won.
Well, I told everybody she'd do very good this week. Now, I didn't get a chance to show her off because we only went in 2-2. I didn't care if Nick Clegg went a half in 107. Everybody was complaining after. You believe that half in 103. I don't care. Go half in 13. And go half in 13. It was like I was Yoda. Go slower, Nick. Go slower. I didn't care how slow he went. But she was good. You know, I was worried in the last turn I knew he had to have a quarter and 29 seconds in him. And when I went to start her up, she fell flat. As soon as I kicked the earplugs, boom, gone. It was all business. It was perfect, and you can see her mentally starting to come around. She wasn't at her knee as much, and that in a hard track last night would actually help that. She wasn't at her knee as much. She was comfortable. I told you guys, when I galloped her after her first start, she felt drawn out. She felt like she was tired. And I felt that going a mile in 2 minutes on the gallop, she shouldn't feel that way. But when I galloped her the other day, she was much stronger. Pulled up, trotted, hit her, playing around with her head. She felt good. She's been eating good. She seemed sound. I just felt she was coming into the race good. And although 2-2 isn't really much to look at, the manner in which she did it was perfect. I did tell Kaylee, Murphy Blindoff just had 2 poles and left. She was just running out a little bit in the straightaways. It's an easy fix. So Alexandra was good, and then Aunt Lily last night. Not the greatest start, but it wasn't her fault. She's not that type of filly. I got jammed down. I know Ty was upset because I wouldn't give him the hole, but I can't let him in the 4-hole because I'm not planning on moving. I was okay staying there. I mean, I can't really let your bad day turn into our bad day, but he still found a way to do it.
Yeah,
he found a way to do it. If I was mad too, if I was mad at me, I would have done the same thing. Just lay outside me.
You were like, had your hands full.
Yeah, I don't think he realized that. And Aunt Lily was strong. Like, she run right over Logan starting into the backstretch. You notice? So she come right up trotting, though, the big girl. See?
Yeah, perfect. I know, but I feel bad. Like, I feel like I should message Logan and be like, is your back okay?
No, I never crossed my mind.
Because you're just mean.
I'm not mean. He was fine. She was perfect. He knew what was, well, what are you going to do? There's not much I can do. So I told Jason, a few little changes pulling up. Cord out, chain in, put a birch bit in her mouth, because she had no head check on. But when she gets really angry and grabby, she'll start to lean into her head, and there's not much I can do. At that point, she's winning. There's nothing I can do. Yeah, but she was good, though. The one thing about her, though, I fought with her the whole mile, and when I got her out, that had to play a role in her being a tiny bit flat finishing up. But even that is unfair. If you watch the race itself, don't look at the line, watch the race. The last 100 yards, she was accelerating. Now, she wasn't sprinting, but she was coming forward to those horses. So, the other thing, I think we're going to have to try her in an open bridle. Just keep her quiet. She's a much more useful horse if she just settles, behaves. She was good last year when you could leave, sit, or just leave, put her on the front. But if you don't leave with her like I did last night, where we had the 9-hole, and the pace isn't really great, what you end up with is a wrestling match. And one that it has to take away from the end of her mile. And nevertheless, 58 or 59 last night in the mud, in the rain, first start back. Not a bad mile for Aunt Lily, and I wasn't disappointed at all with her. So last night in entirety was a pretty good night on both sides of the border. I know we raced the other horse, the Meadows. I made a video yesterday about that. We're going to work on that. And Darcy was nice enough to remind me that the Meadows doesn't race next week. They qualify Tuesday, and they do not qualify the following Tuesday, which is a little problematic, actually. But I didn't know they have a week off, but they do. So the horses Tim has over there, too, is there a place for them to race somewhere else? We'll have to look and see. I don't know, who does he have over there right now? We have Jimboree, Melisandre, 3 point. 3 points not going anywhere. He's staying over there. Melisandre, I would love to send her to Mohawk for a couple of starts.
Why?
I want to see her stretched out. Oh, sure she can, yeah. But going slow miles at Northfield is not what we're looking for, right? I'm looking to stretch. I thought you
were looking to get money back.
Honey, she'd have to win the maiden 30 times.
No, I'm just saying you should take easy money.
There's not a non-winners to 30, also eligible 3-year-old fillies.
That goes in 2 minutes.
And it's not speed. I think she'll become a nice filly. I just want to see her.
Send her there then.
I'm thinking about it. Or she, and quite frankly, there's an easy way to, this argument can be easier fixed. She can have a week off too. She's raced, qualified, schooled, qualified, race. She could have the week off too. So
sometimes, you moving them around to not miss a week usually ends up.
No, a lot of the times I don't move them around that often to not miss a week. They're either not racing well, or I don't like the way that the class is going. But when I look at who's over there, Jimboree's at Poconos, is racing at the Poconos. She's going to continue to race at the Poconos.
She's staying there?
I haven't made my mind up yet. Now, right now, she's with Jason's going to take her down there. Jason Petrie, take her down there and race her on Monday. Honestly, I think a component would be that how she races, right? If she's going to get beat up in the Weiss, then I'm happy to race her the numbers of 2, 3, 4 around here. I have no problem doing that. Yeah. But if she looks like, I have to give her the benefit of the doubt too. She's not going to beat that filly. The only thing that's going to beat Andy Miller's horse, I would imagine, is herself. You know, I see her throwing her head a lot coming out of the gate. That would be the only way she would be defeated. Having said that, she got a chance to qualify in 55 and already race in 54. Gymboree has not, right? 59, 59, 59. So we have to give her a couple of starts to. If it looks like she's competitive, I'm more apt to just say, okay, well, we'll race her through the Weiss. We'll see how it finishes out, and we'll go from there. So that's Gymboree. I'm not sure who else he has over there. 3-point Gymboree. JK Victory can he's gonna have 2 weeks off now, I believe is what Darcy was saying.
Wrestling Warriors over there.
Yeah, he's got that series next week, and then the final must be the week after that. He's not missing a week. He's going to be entered at Northfield Park for sure after that. So how else did the week go? Emerald Deal raced okay, finishing second. I think he's getting better. He still relies heavily on his underachievements, but he is mildly improving. He's on the track. He's a beautiful horse. Pace is nice, big, strong bugger. I hope he comes forward and ends up being a nice horse. And he was okay the other day. I'll tell you a horse that was far better than okay. Greatest Ending. And, you know, I said to Jason, you know, there's a lot of people out there that think that there's a path forward for this horse to become that horse that we bought. I just don't see it. And the problem is the consistency, right? He ties up, his feet hurt him, and then he just isn't the same horse. Right now, he is viciously good. But is there a way we can keep him that way? Yeah. Keep him from tying up, keep his liver down. That's another problem with him. AST down, liver down, and feet in good working order. So it's always a chore for everybody over, and Lauren does a great job with him, working with those horses to get him good and keep him good. And I'm less apt to worry about, well, if we race him over at the Poconos, he'll go in 150. I could care less what he goes. I just want to see the horse do well. And it's not lost on me that 53.5 is good. The way he did it, very good. The horses he beat, very bad for the most part. So he has to ascend the classes in a consistent, confident way. And I'm happy with what I see right now. And I know there's a lot of people that think, wow, we could do this. And we take him to Mohawk. We can take him to Poconos. We can send him back down to Stacy now that he's good. I don't think you guys understand. He's not a race car, right? And there's a lot of variables that go into racing. And one of them is the horse, right? That's the one thing we got to remember, the horse. Jason has a good rapport with this horse. He's racing good right now, and I'm apt to see how it plays out right now. There's nothing we can do about what we want him to be. That ship sailed. Now we have Greatest Ending. How are we going to race him in the most effective way? And I think we are right now. Gymboree raced good, just off 11 days, and we didn't have enough time to train her up hard. I thought she raced good, was just a little flat on the end of it, which is indicative of her not racing for 11 days. It's simple math. Yo Mister was great. He drops way down in class now, down into whatever it is. He's down now in class, so he should be good. He was just photoed out for second in the Open the other day. You know, and he leaves south of 6 in Miami Valley currently in the Open. He's good enough to win. He's just on the cusp. And quite frankly, somebody says, well, he win the backup class. The backup class isn't much softer than the Open most days. It's a bunch of the Open horses that are just like Yo Mister, that maybe for a number of reasons haven't been great their last 3, but that doesn't mean they're still not Open horses. So Open 1 or Open 2, either way, hopefully Yo Mister can get back on track. It's tough. You know, he won that Open, and then they give him the 9-hole for a week or two, which is completely just go home. Don't bother. And then after that, it's an open draw. He draws 7 and ends up 4th, beat ahead for 2nd. Memory and Imagination was good again. Finished 2nd, just beat. No, not just beat. He's beat fair and square, but he finished 2nd, which is good. You know, that class, that condition claimer goes for $24,000 in Miami Valley. I looked the other day. I was wrong. There isn't 4 classes. There's 5 classes that go for more money than the Open Trot at Mohawk. And this one isn't far off. Like 24 is getting pretty close. And Memory and Imagination race good. Memory and Imagination race good. And that's an onwards to 10 class. He has 8 wins, so if he gets beat now and again, it's not really the end of the world. Probably the biggest mile of the week, I said this in a video yesterday that we don't talk that much about, Mounds for All. It was found after this. AST was 9,000. Now, you can get it down. I jumped over, I know. We can get that AST down, not to optimal levels. We can probably get it to 2,500 by next week, running fluids and just going easy. So he was entered. I guess my thought on it would be, if he can race trotting 55 with an AST of 9,000 at the moment, he can probably trot pretty decent with an AST down lower. And I guess it begs the question, had he tied up ever before at the Meadows? Because there are times when I thought he was a little flat. He was certainly razor sharp his last two and was great at Northfield Park. I think between the ship and just the new surroundings, he had tied up a little bit. But Stacey will work to get that down. If he doesn't get in next week, it's not really the end of the world. Freedom Hill was good. I told everybody, somebody said, well, it was only mile 59. Guys, when the track is not great, or it's muddy, or it's cold, or it's windy.
It's a very popular time.
Well, because...
we have a lot of horses that range from on the spectrum, and they all seem to trot in 59 at Northfield.
Well, the problem is that sometimes you get the track, it's not great, and it was good the other night. Maybe not for her because it was windy as a bugger that night. That's the other thing, is it's windy, or it's not great, or it's rainy, or it's inclement. And the only thing that matters, just throw the time out. The only thing that matters, just watch the race. Don't listen to the time. I don't care. We already know she can trot 56, 57 in the summer. She will do that again this year, maybe 55. But I don't care how she did it. She left, got away in the 2-hole, moved down the backstretch, cleared the lead, and fought off the favorite or second favorite, one or the other. She raced very, very good. Quite a difference from the night she got beat by Chris Lems when he popped out and blew right by her. She's just getting stronger and better now. I thought she raced good this week. The horse I was so happy to see race good was Vehement. I've said this a number of times. In my life, I don't think I've ever seen a horse with worse luck getting entered into race over even a 6-month period. It just seems like he never was in to go, could never get in. And he's also eligible again on Wednesday, but he'll get in Saturday. That class goes 2 or 3 times a week at Northfield. He'll get back in and go on Saturday. It was nice to see him get off the gate well, though. He has not been known for that, and I was happy to see him get out of the car decent his last start. He raced good. What about Melisandre?
Oh, I'm looking that up right now.
What?
How to say that?
Oh, Melisandre is what they call her at the Meadows. A win in a qualifier, and she's undefeated in the entire calendar year of 2025. I suspect that might come to an end at some point. But she's been racing good. Got her work done. Didn't pull the earplugs the other day. Still a mile and 2 minutes and a decent mile. Another day, it was kind of windy, and we were lucky. It was supposed to be really rainy, and it turned out the track was a little dead, a little wet, and it was windy. But she raced well. It wasn't a tough crew, but she did race well, and I was happy with her. 3-point blue chip race good again. Not very often you see him race well on the front end. You got to be very selective when you put him there. It's almost like he has to let you know, no, I got this. Don't worry about it. Because if at any point he's like, I don't know if I want to be on the front tape, that is definitely not where you want to be, is on the front with 3-point blue chip. He raced Melisandre. That's right. You're going to have to send that to Melisandre. Yeah, you're going to You're going to have to send that to
what's his name?
Mr. Zidek
and Roger
in the Meadows. So 3-point blue chip race good. A horse that really gave me a warm feeling the other night also was Chicago Hall. I know he was in dirt cheap, but that's where he fit. But the way he did it, I love the merciless victories. He won. James was a statue in the bike the whole last 3/8 of the mile. Earplugs in, driving off winner. I loved to see that from Chicago Hall. One of the only trickier wins this week was Rose Run AJ, because it put us in a spot where if we re-enter him in that class, he'd claim for sure. There's no two ways about that. Is he good enough for the condition? Because he fits the class that's racing tonight.
Is that a bad thing?
Is what a bad thing?
I think it's claimed.
Yeah, for 30 Canadian, I think he's worth more than that. Mm-hmm. He can do in the condition claimer over here, which puts him at, in the non-winners of 2, puts him at 33,000 or 32,700. That's U.S. funds.
Yeah. And
then the next one up is 45. And I think he can do in there. It's hard to translate 53 off scorching fractions going by a bunch of ducks in a pond. They were all beating horses when he went by them. So the transition back from claimer to condition can be a tricky one sometimes. If he can do in the non-winners of 2 or whatever, I think it's non-winners of 2, that's fine. That's great. No problem. Moot point. If he can't, we blew past our exit for the what used to be the Iron Maiden. They call it now the 100 Myers. It's not a stiff bunch, but I just believe I would rather stretch that horse out. He's coming in, his confidence is growing. He had fresh looking legs when he went under the wire the other night. I'd rather leave him at Mohawk. Now, if he goes out and gets pounded in the condition race, fine. Then he has to come over here, and yes, I missed the Iron Maiden. But at $8,500 a race, and then a final, 19 or 20, I don't think it's the end of the world, really. So Rosa and AJ, I think he deserves a shot in the condition race, because if he can do over there, well, they go for 18,000 all the way up to 21, and then again, who cares about the stake race over here? Westland Warrior, I'm back and forth. Both Marco and I really liked this one at 2. I thought very highly of him. I thought he had a bright future, and he could have. There's only one thing standing in his way, and that was him. He just is one of those horses that does not put in an honest to goodness effort every time. If you expose him, he won't play. You really have to drive him to his strengths, and you have to drive him with the understanding, knowing him well, that he's going to put out about 90-95% max. And it's frustrating to me to watch that happen. And I was talking to Marco the other day, he said, big improved race. And I'm always a little reserved on Westland Warrior now, because he is a condition claimer. He is an Elmer's a 2, an Elmer's a 3 horse. He's a decent one. But the only reason that my voice sounds like this is because I know he could be a 54, 55, 56 trotter. No problem whatsoever. He just makes a choice not to every time he goes on the track. But the class he was in the other day, he looked good. Yes, he was beat for second, and he should have won the race. But it was a good mile for him. If we can get another race like that into him, I think in the final, given the same trip, who knows? Maybe he will jump forward. So a decent mile from him this week. A great mile from Manhattan Money this week. 2nd and 56. James's thoughts on him are they're different than Westland Warrior, because he feels like he is putting out, but he's got that big kind of Clydesdale feel to him. But he is the type of horse, when you start to get 5, 6, 7 races into him and drive him accordingly, he will start to swell up. And I think you'll see, like, if he's going to trot in 56 and 2 at Mohawk, I think on a hot sunny day with 5, 6, 7, 8 races into him, I could see him trotting 55 at the Meadows, which means he is a, what are you doing?
I was just going to give you your weekly update on how Tiger's doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. How'd he do? Oh, there you go. So he hit the board. I appreciate that, though. That was going to be one of my questions, was how's he doing? What? So Manhattan Money, a very optimistic look at him the other night. 56 and 2 was a good mile for Manhattan Money, and I was happy with what I saw. And then, of course, we ran into last night, and we talked about them already. Gorgeous package. Alexander, Trosa, Neptune, Aunt Lily. A look at next week. What are my thoughts? Admiral Dio's got a good shot again. Greatest ending's going to be upper class, but if he's good, his AST and his GGT stay low, which is his muscle count, his liver, his feet are in good working order, then I suspect you're going to see much the same from him next week. Gymboree, I'd like to see a 2nd or 3rd, but a decent enough race out of her on Monday where we can continue on the road of the Bobby Weiss. Yo, Mister's going to drop down. He should be good. Memory and Imagination should be in the same class. He should be good. Freedom Hill is going to move up a bit, but I don't think it's going to really matter for her. I think she'll be fine no matter where she lands. Mounds for All, if he skips a week, fine. If he doesn't skip a week, you're going to see a better version of him for sure. There's 2 parts of the muscle count, right? There's the CK. I would attribute it almost to like when you strain your back. You're like, I can't move. It's like cement immediately and it hurts. And then later on, maybe tomorrow, it's just stiff, right? So that CK would be when you first seize your back up. The AST would go, right? Your muscle count would go up, and now you might have a high muscle count. The next day it would be stiff, right? You can function, but it's frustrating, it's hard to do, and it really takes away from your overall ability. That's how I kind of attributed in layman's terms to what a horse would go through with a high muscle count. That CK was up at 9,000 almost, which is incredible that he even raced well. And that will come down quickly. That CK probably by today is back to normal, but I would say that AST is somewhere around the 4,000, 4,500 range. So to get that from 4,500 to down to normal, which theoretically would be 0, which is impossible, somewhere around 200-300, would take 2 weeks. Now, he could function very well with it half. Greatest Endings raced most of his races with his AST around 2,000 likely. So it's not that he can't, every horse is different, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective. What kind of an incredible mile that was from that horse the other day to even look like he belonged in that class when his muscle count says that he didn't. What else do we got? Vehement, moving up in class. I'm not that worried. He'll do fine in there. Raced good the other day and coming in sharp, but I do want to get him on a more structured race schedule. Now, he fits an hours of 2 but 4 class at Northfield Park. They race twice a week. There should be no reason why he won't get in at least 3 times a month. Melisandre.
Why are we going back to
Because this is next week. A look at next week.
Oh.
Melisandre is moving up. I know the race secretary was trying to figure out a way to get her back in the maiden because there's only 7 in there. So he won't go with a 6 or 5 horse maiden. But how do you put a horse in that is 1 to 9 and won the maiden its last 2 starts? It's not. I said, well, you can make it a handicap. He said, it's a 7 horse field. What difference if you make it a handicap?
Yeah, give it a 7 hole.
Yeah, exactly. I said, I'll take the 7 hole. That's all right. But it's unlikely.
Or even make you go in the 8 hole. Leave the 7 open.
Yeah, they did that at West one time, which means nothing. I don't think it's a big deal for her to move up in the numbers of 2. Do I think she'll manhandle them? No. But I liked what I saw from her the other day. 2 minutes, last half 58, 29 in the end, earplugs in. Got to do a little of that work. You notice that too. She was a little shuffly. Her hind ankles and her knees bother her once in a while. Just growth stuff, management stuff. So she'll be fine. 3-point blue chip is ascending the classes. There won't be any problems with him for a while. Chicago Hall, he'll be fine right to the SBOA. This is the perfect storm for this horse. He fits classes he should maul between now and when he's going to race his first stake race.
Which is when?
It's coming up in May, I think. The SBOA, I'm not sure when it is. Now, at that point, the reason that's important is now he's coming in to race against horses like him, but he is brimming with confidence. So it is perfect the way this is setting up for the 2025 season for Chicago Hall. Roser and AJ, I talked in depth about what we're going to do with him. We are going to race him in the condition. Now, if it turns out he maybe just doesn't get in next week, well, that I'll take that as a sign from God. He will come and race in the 2nd division of the Hunter Myers, but I suspect he will. Race in the condition next week. Westland Warrior, much the same as last week, 2nd leg of that series he's in. Manhattan Money, I want to leave him Mohawk. I want to let him stretch out and feel his legs. I'd love to see him start to get to 55 every week. And then when we go to race him in his first Stallion Series event, now he's got some speed under his belt. Gorgeous package, rinse and repeat, maybe a little more conservative with her next week. I know Jason said, he goes, Anthony, Jesus, can we not get an Elmer's of 4 or 5? I said, Jason, the non-winners of 5 went in 52-1 at the Meadows the other day, and I won it with Tim's horse.
What's she in here?
No, it's like a non-winners of 5 mixed with other horses. Like there's open horses in there last night. Miami Valley went in 52 last week. Poconos went in 51-4 the week before. There's no hiding, right? There's no hiding. Leave her at home, race her more conservative, and then we'll focus on her stake season coming up. Alexandra, happy with her. It's hard to get too excited because 2-2 is 2-2. I think she'll pace 57-58 next week. She looked good, but I liked her confidence. You could feel her in a hole. Usually she'd get grabby and she'd get into her knee and she'd get hot. Just 2 fingers, just quiet. Follow nice and quiet. She's coming back around, I guess is how I'm trying to say it. Tro said the race office is just going to race him wherever they want, apparently. As long as they leave him out of the open, I don't care. Neptune, same thing for next week. And then Aunt Lily, the biggest thing for next week with her will be the equipment changes, right? Open bridle, chain, earplugs, birch bit in her mouth. And that might be a little aggressive. She might just need a straight over check bit. But either way, that's all that's needed with her. And I think given the same situation, it should be much better. So that is a very in-depth look. Look, we made it almost to 40 minutes. Almost to 40 minutes. Yeah, you only talked about 2 minutes and 37 seconds out of 36 minutes. What was your highlight of this week, Katie?
Why do you do that?
Because I'm putting you on the spot. What was your highlight?
I didn't have a highlight. I think there's a lot of horses that
you can call it a baby, a race horse.
I'm just glad all these horses race good.
I was very happy because, we had such a difficult, trying month of March, and then to end it with Arson getting injured, it was truly devastating. It was the worst month of my racing career. I'm certain of that. No 2 ways about it. And when it comes to Arson, I was just happy that he's, a lot of people asking about Arson, so I'm gonna unpack it for you just like I did our partners on Arson. When he arrived at the clinic the other night, there was a slim chance that they could save him. Dr. Keith Brown worked nothing short of a miracle, and he took him from an extremely optimistic 10 to 20% chance of survival. And with a 5-hour operation, 33 screws and 2 medical plates later in his cannon bone, he brought him to a 50. And when he came out, he was still 30, 35. Because the biggest hurdle at that point was him standing up. A lot of the times the horse will stand up, they'll get excitable, and they'll snap that leg. Because it's that major weight-bearing bone is put together. What's that?
I can show a picture.
Yeah, that major weight-bearing bone is put together with plates and screws, right? That was his leg. That was his leg on Monday morning, Monday afternoon, after a 5-hour operation. He was very smart, as he always was. Walked gingerly back to his stall. I posted the video. You guys saw the improvement in the comfort in him, even from Monday walking back to the stall where it was, he's sore on it, but it's, even to yesterday where he's got his ears up. He understands. He's a smart horse, this horse. Now, the next hurdle, that put him at 50-50, right? He still has a lot of hurdles. The 2 biggest ones right now are laminitis and infection. If he can stave off infection, where all those bolts went in, and there's no laminitis on the other foot from taking the weight, he should be fine. Now, my argument, in the layman's terms to Dr. Brown was, it wasn't an argument. My question was, well, the fact that he's a smaller horse and that he is smart, that has to go, he said, so after the video, he said, Anthony, if he continues on this path, being quiet, putting just enough pressure on it, right, to keep some pressure off the other one, being smart, keeping his appetite up, keeping his, his confidence up in himself, it goes a long way. He said, and at that point, once you get to that 14-day mark, and there's no infection, no signs of laminitis, he said at that point we moved to 75% chance of survival. That might sound silly to you because he's surviving, but that leg, the lag itself is the problem. Do you have the x-ray of how bad it looked when he... I'll tell you how tough this horse is. I'll show you the x-ray. Here's how his leg looked after the race.
I'm sorry, my phone is very smudgy.
Well, that's because you're like the kids. You just smudge it. Here you go. See, I keep one of these here just for that. There you go. Now you're all set. The last watermark, that takes time. 2 months. So he'll remain at 75% after next Monday is 14 days. Not tomorrow. The Monday after is 14 days. Now, looking at him, I think Dr. Brown is comfortable in saying he believes he's on the right path. If we get this other weekend, Arson is now at 75%. He'll remain at 75% for another 6 weeks. Anything could happen. He could slip. He could kick the wall being a horse. He could lay down. He could get up. Something could happen that would affect that. So we're never truly out of the woods until you get to that 2-month mark. And at 2 months, if the structure of that leg is good.
I have a stupid question. Is this the back or the front?
You're not asking the right guy. I'm not a radiologist. Okay, I can't help you. But at the 2-month mark, I think at that point, Dr. Brown, Dr. Latessa would be comfortable in saying they believed he was out of the woods. So at that point, we've saved him. We've done something for a horse that's done so much for us. And what are you looking at?
Look at how far off.
I know. He's far off the ground.
Sorry.
At that point, everybody's comfortable in saying he's out of the woods, right? We've saved him. So my thoughts after that are simple. Now, I had asked Dr. Brown, I said, please don't take this as me being greedy. But if he makes it out of the woods, is he ever allowed to breed? Because you have to jump up on a dummy, right? And he said, yes, he can. So I would likely reach out to a smaller jurisdiction. My first preference would be the Maritimes, where I'm from. I would love nothing more than to see a ton of little Arsons running around in Prince Edward Island, in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. That would be my preference. Obviously, there are other small jurisdictions, Michigan and Illinois and Delaware. There's a number of them, but my first choice would be there. So we still got a lot of hurdles. I know every day everybody's asking for updates. That's the only update right now. A week from Monday, he moves from 50 to 75%. 6 weeks after that, it's safe to say that he's at least out of the woods from this. So that's where we're at with Arson. I think it's important to reiterate what kind of magic Dr. Brown pulled here. even him and Dr. Latessa shortly after the operation, he said, I'll give him a 35% chance, I think is what he said, until he stands up. And he said many of his colleagues, because a lot of what these surgeons do, will send the emails, the x-rays around to their friends, right? Other surgeons. And he said there wasn't too many of them gave him a fighting chance of any kind at all. So it is important to understand and recognize what truly took place here. As of right now, we are halfway through witnessing a completed miracle in what's going on with Arson. So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. 50-50 is still 50-50, and 75% is still 75%. So until we get that 2-month mark, it'll be fingers crossed and prayers for Arson for sure. A horse that meant a lot to us and clearly is a fighter. So that's how I'm going to end my video. Thoroughly pleased with the way the horse is raced, and very, very happy that Arson's doing as well thus far as he's doing. So I hope you guys have had a great week at the track, off the track, in your personal life. I hope we have a lot of luck next week at the track. Tonight, I'm interested, very interested on a number of levels to race Looks Like Money. It really doesn't matter to me if he goes out and wins tonight. He's not, I don't want to keep him on a half-mile track with that old injury lingering. So hopefully we can get back to racing at the Meadows. If not, we'll have to pivot at some point and figure something out. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, the Meadowlands or Mohawk or, as I said, Miami Valley. I'll put it to you this way. I'll help everybody just a tiny little bit. My least favorite place to send him right now of all the places on this planet, in this solar system, would be back to Miami Valley at this point. So we're looking for options. Otherwise, I know that Philadelphia is starting. A lot of places are starting. We just need to be very careful. That's why the Meadows was so good. Consistency is important for a horse like him. So with that, we're now at 47 minutes. I know you're still right around 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You haven't done a lot of talking, but you've been looking at TikToks and...
I actually haven't at all.
I know, you're looking at replays. She gets so mad when he's
it's so annoying. Don't look at TikTok all day.
Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Take care.